that's James's dinner. And we're going to be reviewing some Oz stuff today. So this one, the Emerald City of Oz, and Michael Morpurgo's Toto, the Doggone Amazing Story of the Wizard of Oz. And we're just going to get started right away because it's going to start. It started sprinkling, and we'll see how far we go. So we're not actually only reviewing the Emerald City of Oz here. We're reviewing Dorothy and the Wizard of Oz, The Road to Oz, and the Emerald City of Oz.
You've returned the ones that I was reading.
Yes, I already returned the ones he was reading. But we have to get that one returned by tomorrow morning. So, yeah. Or by tomorrow sometime.
Tomorrow at 10,
so
I think.
Well, maybe even later tomorrow. It's actually due tomorrow. I didn't think about that. We can wait a little while. But we'll give you a little review, and then if we haven't returned it tomorrow, we'll talk about it a little more
review.
Maybe. So,
I haven't quite finished it.
Yeah.
I'm about 2/3 of the way through. And then I read the last page because I just wanted to see how it ended. You might have changed the
I
ending,
haven't read it yet, but I'll read it tonight. We were busy getting through this one, and I hadn't realized that one was coming up due tomorrow. So,
well, you thought it was due really today,
yeah.
So before it opens tomorrow.
Yeah, but it's not. Now it's due tomorrow. So,
yeah, so I did.
I can get it done anytime tomorrow. So that's fine.
Crash landing job of reading, but
so
it's okay.
This book, I actually. The complete collection, volume 2. I don't rate this one that highly, because Dorothy and the Wizard of Oz and The Road to Oz, I didn't like those. Those books weren't good as far as I'm concerned. I don't know how you felt about it.
I enjoy them all, but some are better than others. You know?
Well, I didn't.
Most good stories I can put up with. When you hear me give a bad review of a good story, it's really bad.
Yeah. So, but it really, I felt like when he was writing Dorothy and the Wizard of Oz and The Road to Oz that he did not want to be writing Oz stuff at all.
Well, you were getting the correct impression. He was getting tired. I think he was getting tired of Dorothy more than anything.
Yeah, and frankly, he was making her out to be not a good person.
Not the greatest by times.
Because he didn't want to be doing it anymore. I could tell. But so the Emerald City of Oz, that one, it wraps up. It's a kind of wrap up, right? Dorothy's not. Well, I don't know. I don't want to give away what's going to happen with Dorothy and that or whatever. But it's a bit of a wrap up, and so.
Was that the one put out in 1910, and then there was a hiatus after? I've kind of forgotten the title.
Here you go.
Does this one doesn't have the boy in it, right? Ojo or whatever his name is.
No, Ojo is in the next one. So
that's when he revived it, I think, and I got it better.
Yeah, and it was better there, but Emerald City of Oz is good. It's just the other two before were not. So I think
because this one was pretty good.
Yeah,
it had some
because
suspense.
He was wrapping up things in a way.
He tried to put a big bow.
He felt good about it, I think. He was like, oh, thank God I'm wrapping this up. But then, I don't know what happened, but the next one, it's another Oz one, but it's good. It's good. So
the first half of it, or even more, doesn't even have Dorothy in it.
Exactly.
Spoiler alert.
Yeah, of the next one after this one. So, I think he was just really sick of Dorothy, and he was trying to make everyone sick of Dorothy by the way he was writing about her, honestly.
But there were other problems. I mean, those two that you're talking about didn't have much plot. It was largely a parade of characters that had occurred before.
Yeah.
There actually weren't that many characters in the first one. But as it
and
went
the Road
along,
to Oz was just awful.
I was like,
but we kind of talked about that a bit. Like it was, I don't care about some stupid birthday party, whatever,
Yeah.
And anyway, but the Emerald City of Oz, that one's decent. So, would I recommend this book here over this one, I mean, James and I were reading, I was reading this one, James was reading
Ones
this one.
with illustrations. And
Yeah.
it makes a huge difference. If you can, get ones with the original illustrations.
So
Because they're generally quite done.
he prefers reading the illustrations. So this one was from Champion
Public Library.
Yeah. And so thank you.
Thank you, Champion. We're not deserving.
And
your library per capita is way better.
I mean,
than ours.
James likes the pictures, so this works out well. But now he's had to switch with me, so we've read through the next story in like the first one in volume 3, which is actually quite long, and I was reading like this format, this kind,
No
and
illustrations.
he was reading another one of like this with illustrations, and now we've had to switch
The
over
same
because we're
reissue
the next
series.
book we don't have an illustrated copy, so James doesn't get to read an illustrated one, so I don't know how he'll
This
feel
was
about
reissued, I think, maybe in the 60s or something like that.
Mm.
But you can see they're trying to duplicate the original sort of stuff. But hopefully they're putting the stuff out. Come up with a new edition here. This is pretty new. I think that's this millennium.
And well, it has a list price of $15.99 Canadian. That's
Wow,
pretty
that's
good for
pretty
3
reasonable.
books. Yeah. There's takes a while to go through this, even for if you're an adult. It takes a while to go
Well,
through.
there's actually the occasional
pretty
polysyllabic word, all that sort of stuff in there.
So, but I don't know how you feel about it.
I prefer this
He
format.
prefers this format.
Yep.
So he likes the illustrations, whatever. And honestly, I think why not have them? Why take them out? I know they wanted to make it into a comfortable sort of size and fill out as much as you can, and I appreciate that. It's good value for your money, but this is nicer, really. So I don't know. It's,
Have you read any of the Harry Potter series?
Yes, I have.
It's a different age group, I'd say, but
Well, I like the Oz stuff way more.
me too.
But
And I've never seen the Harry Potter series. Have I seen one of their movies or something like that?
I'm sure you have, James.
Yeah. No.
Anyway,
It doesn't
this
seem that inspiring.
this book is interesting. You meet a lot of new characters. So there's like King Cleaver, and there's the bunny rabbit. So this one actually reminds me somewhat of, like, he was trying to do sort of a Wonderland thing. Did you feel the same way with that?
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah. So Baum was trying to pull in more poetry and stuff like that. So
He actually
like the
wrote
volume
poetry
that,
pretty well.
yeah, there's some inversion and stuff like that.
Not much. Generally, when he got tired, folks.
Well, that happens with people.
Well, right
But
the next day.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be done all in one sitting.
Yeah, just go through it again.
This happened with even the best,
Yeah.
or the people who rate the best.
So yeah, the what is it? Bunville and Bunnyville or something like that in here?
Yep.
I can't remember. Something like
Yeah,
that.
2 different places.
And so the Bunville thing sort of reminded me of the kind of skirting around, hinting at cannibalism in Oz, right? The bun thing, and that happens in Wonderland too. So I think that's why he pulled that in. It's because that occurs in Wonderland, but he doesn't have humans. He doesn't have humans eating anyone in Bunland or whatever, Bunville. But it's but Bellina and Toto were problems there. So that's I think maybe a little bit nicer, right? But anyway, and the rabbits, of course, they reminded me of Wonderland too. So anyway, I like that, looking at the pictures now, because James got pictures I did not, So that's nice to see them.
Some of the illustrations are going to be considered highly politically incorrect. I mean, there was one group of people that looked as though they were inspired or uninspired by Indigenous North American. What's the term? Indigenous American. So they had straps around their heads instead of feathers. They had arrows here. Then I think loincloths and so on and so forth.
So I suppose I should show you just an example of the illustrations in this, so you have an idea of what, I don't know which one to pick, really. That one's kind of cute. I don't know. They're all over the place.
This illustrator is better than the one that followed.
I don't know if you can see that.
Sawhorse really well when he was running.
And so this one, I'll show you an example of the illustrations in this one. It's kind of cute. There's
Kind of cute.
yeah.
This is an award-winning illustrator.
Oh, really?
Come on.
Yeah, the illustrations in this are way better. So, I don't know, I guess we've lowered the bar over the years. This is nice. I like this picture. That's pretty cool. That's a very different perspective, right? And
yeah, I know.
Interesting.
It kind of looks here. It looks a little bit like the man in the yellow hat, but I don't have to tell you. Curious George illustrations are way better. Than this.
So, anyway, so how did you feel about Toto, the doggone amazing story of the Wizard?
It's the same thing as the first story, only it's told from a different point of view.
Okay.
It might as well be, here's the original language, ruff, 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 ruff,
That's a pretty
ruff.
big picture.
So it's Toto telling the story to one litter of kids. So it's a litter of 7 kids, but they all fall asleep except for the youngest. So I'll show you the youngest here. First show it to Paul. He stays awake, and it's actually not his point of view. It's the Toto's point of view. It's actually as filtered through the youngest. He's recalling what his.
Oh, there.
So
Very sweet.
Stayed awake. His dad went to sleep. He was so tired from telling the story. Oh, there you go.
Very cute.
That's cute.
Yep. All right. So, would you recommend the book?
Not hardcover, that's for certain. I'd recommend getting it from the library. Hardcover or softcover. I don't know what the price would be.
No, I can't find a price here, which is, oh, there we go. Canadian $21.99, which is kind of crazy. You're paying more for this than you would for 3 volumes of the original L. Frank Baum books.
And maybe you like this style of stuff.
I mean, the illustrations are nice, but
that's a pretty good lion there. And I kind of like Dorothy the way she's represented. And they do have her wearing the bonnet. I thought that they wouldn't do that because it seemed kind of old-fashioned stuff like that. But bonnets actually kind of make sense. I do like the kind of, it's like fancy armor on the Tin Man.
Okay.
I'll try to get a picture of him. Guess what color the shoes are?
Ruby red.
Come on, guys.
Yep.
Go with the silver. I don't care.
Yeah,
they did that for the movies. For
exactly,
Pete's sake.
But you shouldn't be doing it for the book. Read the original book.
The Scarecrow looks almost like a rock star.
He does.
In a blue duster.
Yeah.
Kind of like.
He doesn't look like a scarecrow at all.
We were listening to Bon Jovi,
yeah,
and we got off of that station so fast.
He's going down the yellow brick road in a blaze of glory.
That one was good. We didn't script this.
Boy.
That was a shot off a shovel. That's awesome. There we go. So that's kind of like some old-fashioned armor used to be. It's kind of like got a filigree in it or whatever it's called.
Sure.
So that's a nice little touch there. But I'm telling you, that's not very well done, Nick Chopper. That's all I got to say.
But the type is probably a little smaller in that than this.
Yeah. So what's going on there?
And the type is bigger in that than this. So.
Well, no. So it shows the lion's jaws full of teeth. You know how dogs are missing part of their jawline with teeth?
Mm.
I think lions are roughly the same way, aren't they?
Oh, so you have the big ones, and then you have like
Then
some
you have a
little ones
gap,
in
and
front.
then you have other ones. Yeah. So try and get that right. There's Toto chasing off a little cat. Stuff
Oh
like
yeah,
that.
well they stayed
Not
true
bad.
to the book that way.
Yeah, well,
Wildcat.
see, like this cat has proper eyes.
And with the mice and stuff, yeah. So
Yeah,
they did
so-
have that.
So,
they did read
you
the
know,
book.
it's got cat eyes.
I don't know
but
why
then
they didn't.
let's
Maybe
look
the
at the
illustrator
lion.
didn't.
Okay, when he makes it into Oz, he's wearing the green spectacles.
Okay, yeah.
No, those are human eyes. Come on.
Yeah, the writer did read the book.
Yeah, I know, but don't give me human eyes with cats, okay? I think lions.
Well,
would
it
have
might
this
just be a
also.
problem with the illustrator then.
Well, exactly right.
They're still cute illustrations. I think kids would like it.
Oh, I think so. You
Yeah.
know, like I can remember looking at the Hardy Boy illustrations from way back when. I used to think, man, I wish I could draw like that. And then I eventually came to realize that, you know, like Leslie McFarlane, who wrote the first ones, he said, man, oh man, he couldn't stand the illustrations you visit him with, right? First Hardy Boys. And yeah, they were fairly junky, so on and so forth. They always were fairly junky.
Well, I don't really have anything else to say about this.
No,
Did you want
no.
to talk about anything else?
Well, the segue from the light and breezy to
Mission
stuff.
Hiroshima? Wow.
Geez.
That's
I
a
mean, it's
different
been that kind of day. You know?
weird show we're having today.
You know,
Okay.
like we were listening to Jim Morrison and the Doors. People are strange when you're a stranger, and it has been a strange day. Like I saw a person come back from the dead just outside of, just outside in the boulevard. Strictly speaking, I guess this wasn't library property, but person bought back from the dead. I suspect it was fentanyl. And I'm telling you, there's a woman there, her first name started with M, who saved that guy's life. People were pounding away on that guy's chest. Or people doing artificial respiration. Nothing. Someone nailed what I presume was naloxone, is that what it's called? Into his leg. And nothing. And a woman came out from the library. I thought she was an employee, but she wasn't. And she'd just taken some first aid. She came out with the equivalent, like a portable paddles type of thing. You see these things that look kind of like fly swatters or whatever. Anyway, holy smokes, she used those. And it's not quite next thing you know, but almost the next thing you know, the guy's got his legs up, moving his hand, and then he's up and about. Now, finally, an ambulance turned up, and someone should have phoned because there's one fire station that's just a few blocks away. What took them so long? I don't know. Anyway, I hope they took the guy to hospital for follow-up and stuff like that. But yeah, he was up. It's amazing what can you do. So the guy probably suffered from a fentanyl overdose and went through cardiopulmonary arrest. Now that's not a fudge thing. I'm looking that up. And it is, you have a heart attack, massive heart attack. And what, like I asked a person who was kind of a specialist in blood. I didn't mention the case that I was talking about, or thinking about. And I said, so what happened if you had a massive overdose of fentanyl? Would you have a massive heart attack? Oh, quite likely. What would happen? Well, your heart would stop and then your breathing would stop. Got that? That's what the initial diagnosis for George Floyd was. I think it was the autopsy done by the city of Minneapolis. Cardiopulmonary arrest, I believe it was what it was. And I thought they were just fudging it, saying, okay, we don't know whether he died of a heart attack or his breathing stopped. But no, that applies to a heart attack. Then when it became a big issue, the county that Minneapolis is in, did their own autopsy. And, you know, like when cops are doing interviews with people, quite rightly, they go with the first interview. Because what happens, second interview, people start talking with other people, start getting their stories straight, or really getting them crooked, and straight with each other, but crooked with the truth. And that's what happened with that second autopsy. They were saying something to the effect that George Floyd suffocated, that he, yeah. The initial thing is what we should go with, because the second autopsy was the first step in the process of railroading the 4 cops that were involved in trying to deal with the George Floyd situation. You know, it's not as though they picked George Floyd out by, hey, he's black, he looks dangerous, he's driving a fancy vehicle. Apparently there's something like a Mercedes or BMW, can't remember, something like that. No. And cops have been called in, I believe, by a person of color, so-called color. I think it was someone from the so-called Middle East, Near East, whatever you don't want to call it. And George Floyd had stolen some coffee. Now the chief of police of Minneapolis, as I recall, I'm not saying Paul, was saying the cops weren't doing their duty, that they should have just let it go. Well, you know, like, I worked at a cop shop. I wasn't happy about being parachuted in there. I don't think I'd ever pick a cop as a friend, much less a close friend.
Yeah, you have. Rusty's owner.
Yeah, he's pretty good. Pretty good guy. But not a close friend. Anyway, so anyway, oftentimes in the room where they do their pep talk, the cops, what do they call it, the line room or something like that, before they started a shift, you'd go in there and there'd be all sorts of goods or bads or whatever spread over the table. It's in the old cop shop. What was that? Well, those would be stuff that they'd apprehended when they'd got a search warrant to go into a place. And they were trying to see how much of this stuff was stolen material. When cops get a chance to search a car in the United States, I presume it's here in Canada, but I'm not sure. It's considered private property, a car. It's like a house. You have to get a search warrant or something like that, or you have to have reason for getting into that vehicle. And where did they blow it? No, the cops were right on sharp as tacks when it comes to figuring out there was something seriously wrong with George Floyd. I'm not talking about the overdose of drugs, which he'd already taken. And George Floyd was involved in serious criminal activity. He was chauffeuring a not just a drug dealer, but a drug presser. Now, that terminology I get from an exculpatory, or an attempted exculpatory account of George Floyd's life. And I don't think they ever come out and say what a pill presser is. It's a pill manufacturer. So the guy wasn't just a dealer, the guy that George Floyd was chauffeuring around. He actually manufactured pills. And apparently, amongst other things, maybe it wasn't just amongst other things, but apparently they were peddling around fentanyl. You don't even know whether anyone died from the little merchandising that Floyd and his buddy were doing that very day. And so the cops were onto something. And so the police chief should be sued for out-and-out slander. And if they put anything in writing, libel. It's that you don't go around saying that. That's just a lie. It's a flat-out lie. the cops did the job. George Floyd, when the cops approached the car, every time I've been approached for a check, like a holiday check or whatever they call those, I always roll down the window. I think any sensible person would, to talk to the cop. But George Floyd is edging the door open, and he's not opening it up wide so they can see inside, and they can tell he's hiding something. So, like some idiot on the internet was saying, how come they pulled the guns right away? Well, a cop doesn't come, like, here's a door opening, like this. He's not going to come here and try to talk through the window, because what might happen? Boom! It's knocked on his duff, and then George Floyd or whomever takes off. No, this was a rookie, basically, coming in, but he comes in from the side here, and already you can see Floyd is behaving suspicious. He's got his gun drawn. Floyd doesn't want to show him his hands. So the cop says at least twice, show me your hands. Show me your hands. And apparently the guy sitting over here, the drug dealer, is telling Floyd, show him your hands. So the cop doesn't know what is in Floyd's hands, but he's obviously hiding something. Now what it turns out is it would be a package, presumably an empty package of some sort of dope, presumably fentanyl, that George had on his possession. And he'd done this before. This is in the, it's in essence the authorized biography. Again, it's an attempt at being exculpatory, but they admit, well, it'd be a matter of public record, that, so volunteer, I guess, that Floyd had done this before. In other words, swallowed evidence in the form of drugs, and he had to be taken off to a hospital. And the cops apparently, at least once, I gather twice, asked him, are you on drugs? And apparently he said no, both times. Sealed his death sentence there. Had nothing to do with the cops. He had taken a massive overdose of fentanyl, as well as having taken, I gather it was methamphetamines, or no, crack cocaine, which I thought it would kind of counteract the effects, the narcotic type of effects of the depressive type effects of fentanyl, but my source indicates that it actually can exacerbate the use of cocaine at the same time as fentanyl, can actually exacerbate the symptoms. Bad scene, but so that's what we saw. We saw someone brought back from the dead. Because people were, there was one person hammering. It went on for minute after minute, hammering away at the guy's chest. This guy wouldn't have survived without the paddles, from what, the naloxone didn't seem to be working at all. People are yelling, live, live. That's what drew my attention to it. I heard this sound. I was in a vehicle with the windows closed. I heard, what? People are shouting. What about? Live, live, live. From what I can tell, just applying the usual artificial respiration and stuff like that, the resuscitation. Those cops back in Minneapolis wouldn't have had a hope with George Floyd.